Hello and welcome back to Greeny. Now today we're going to be looking at the new island that Call of Duty released for Rebirth. Now this is for Rebirth and for DMZ. We cannot forget that you will be able to DMZ on this map, which is absolutely insane. Now Mazra, lovely map, huge, so you kind of miss out on a bit of PvP. But on this map, I think coming in contact with a lot of people is going to be very good. Now we're going to be pointing out a few things that I think you have missed on this map. And also, we're just going to be running through the patch notes. So the first bit I will mark on YouTube so you know which section is just the bits you missed. And then if you do want to jump to the patch notes so you don't want to watch that, then you'll know which bit I will point out. So we're going to look on this map here. Now there's a few things you've definitely missed. I definitely know people have missed. You'll be able to swim on this map. So these little boundaries here where my mouse is, these boundaries here are definitely going to be, if you go past, then you will die. Same here, there's boundaries all the way around. You'll see these little boundaries and around. So I think if you swim past them, you will die. It would be like the old one where you X in the combat zone, you have like 5 seconds to come back. Another big one is, look here. If I zoom right in here, look at this entry point here. Going under, as if, for example, under Los Santos at the pier in GTA, you're going under. And look, it's not just on its own, there's another one. And you can clearly see on this one here, if you look here, that is clearly a tunnel. Look at that. So we'll zoom out a little bit again, scroll up, you'll see here, you've got one here. And I was looking at this one and I was thinking, there's no exit. I was just looking straight through. But there's one here, here, and here. Now this is obviously the port, so maybe it's like a submarine base underneath, because obviously it's sort of like a military style place. Who really knows? It does look military, but I think under this castle, and as well, I do want to point out that I think in this castle there will be another point to be able to entrance into the underground port, I suppose you could call it, the submarine base maybe it might be called. It doesn't point out too much, but I really do think it is a sub base. Another reason I think it is a sub base of this little shadow here. If you look at all the other entrances, there's no shadow, apart from this here. But look at that, long shadow, like it's a submarine. I really do think that that is a sub also. Let's go all the way back out and look at the map again. You will see over here, derelict buildings. Now you may remember in the original Rebirth map for Warzone 1, there was the construction area. Now it doesn't label it as that, but that is what it was called. It was a construction area, and eventually it got built into an area where everyone dropped. I think it was called Control Center is what it was actually called. Now if you look here, if we zoom right in, that is derelict buildings to me. That to me looks like it's derelict buildings, which says there's going to be more than one alteration to this map, and they're definitely going to be making changes in the future, kind of adjusting the map and playing it. Another thing I want to point out, which is it happens a lot on most Warzone maps, is there's one thing that you may have noticed, because like I say, it happens on most games and most things, is the road goes perfectly all the way around the map. It follows it perfectly around the map, which says to me there's going to be cars. Now I have a feeling, I don't know, they might not put the heavy SUVs in this just due to the map size, but there's definitely going to be vehicles. And another, if you look here, another lab style. That bit there reminds me of Battlefield 2042. Now if you look over here, the farms, which says to me is little like greenhouses, and there's going to be some shrubbery inside, so there's going to be close PvP contact inside. Another thing, these are hotel buildings, so these buildings here are going to be tall. The only reason I know they're hotel buildings is because there's a baseball / tennis court, you can't see properly, but so these buildings are definitely going to be tall to be able to get some range over the Tsuki Castle. Now this map looks absolutely brilliant, so I really hope it lives up. And another thing, I think it is going to be vibrant. Looking at this, it looks lovely and vibrant, so I'm really hoping there's going to be boats and good skins and good bit of PvP content. Now that is the end of me pointing out things you may have missed on the map, so now we're going to hop to the patch notes so we know what's coming in Season 2. So now we are looking at the new patch notes for Season 2. So as you can see here, this main one here, there's going to be a big audio overhaul in the game, which is absolutely fantastic. A lot of times that you don't hear footsteps, or there's just nothing there. There's nothing. Someone will just appear on you and boom, you're dead. Or sometimes even airstrikes don't notify you, you don't get a sound of it. It just happens, and that's been a problem with Warzone 1, so it's very good to see them adjusting that immediately. The next bit they're doing is a big bit of UI change, which is absolutely lovely. The UI, I'm not a huge fan on Modern Warfare 2, so I'm really glad they're kind of polishing it and changing it, and hopefully it'll be easier to join your friends and actually move around Modern Warfare 2 in general. Next up, they're changing the actual audio for the after action once you've died, and they're adding a play again, which we really do need because that was really annoying having to back all the way out. And they're also just making sure the challenges in Battle Pass work better, because the Battle Pass you couldn't always activate your tokens, and also some big weapon balances coming in. Obviously, it doesn't go too much into detail, just some weapon balances, but I'm going to guess maybe dual pistols and the RPK getting a bit of an adjust because they are ridiculously overpowered, and hopefully adding one-shot snipers to the game. Next up, we have the Gulag. They are returning with a 1v1 Gulag because the absolute point of a 2v2 just did not work out, and most of the time you didn't even get a Gulag because there wasn't 4 dead players. And they're also going back to the flag style control point rather than the jailer / juggernaut, because he was so overpowered, pointless, and no one teamed up to kill him. They're also updating the weapons that you get in the Gulag, because usually you just get a pistol, or sometimes, very rare, you get a shotgun. So they're just changing some big things, and they're also adding in more cash, changing them. So there's more cash in registers, more cash on the ground, because a lot of time you couldn't regain or bring your teammate in because there was just no cash economy in the game. It didn't work. So it's glad to see that they are bringing that back. They're also changing the inventory. Now this is a very, very big change. They're making it so it is all splash loot. Rather than opening it and having to pick which one you want, you open it, it splashes everywhere, which just makes sense. Warzone 1 did that and it just worked. Also, there's going to be a new backpack system, which is going to remove the medium and large backpacks, and hopefully you will be able to grab and loot better. It's going to be easier, and there's not everyone's kind of not going to have an advantage, like e.g. stacking self-revives. Hopefully it'll be 1 self-revives and 1 kill streak, and then there's just not a massive advantage to someone having a large backpack. It didn't work. Backpack system for DMZ, yes, I agree, it worked lovely, but for multiplayer, I'm not too sure. Next up, we have a loadout change, which is something that we're hoping will work. They're gonna sort of changing it, and they're gonna be customizable perk packages, finally, because it was a nightmare just trying to be able to kind of just require the perks that you need to actually give you a point of actually picking up the loadout, because before, some of the perks you didn't want, you just wanted overkill, so then it was a bit pointless picking up your care package. Also, they're just changing, so it's a bit more faster paced, back to Warzone 1. I am glad they are listening to the community. In addition, everyone's going to start with a 3-plate vest rather than a 2, and having to find a 3, again, giving people luck and advantage. They're also changing the movement so you can go through doors while you're plating and have some kind of tack sprint also while you're plating. But again, movement speed and some other things, big movement changes coming in Warzone. Buy stations will now have their goods easy to access, because it was a bit of a pain before, clicking into another thing and then clicking around and trying to click through stuff. Bit of a nightmare, to be honest with you. Also, strongholds are going to be changed, so hopefully the adjustment to the AI is going to kind of tone them down and not make them absolute veteran war SAS and SEALs, unbelievable things. And that IA tuning does touch up on this DMZ section, so it talks about how AI is so challenging, so they're kind of tuning it all down to the stats that they got in the system. Spawn points are being amended. The amount of times they're spawned in and people start sniping you, which is absolutely ridiculous. So it is good that they're changing the spawn points. They're changing the mission difficulty, because again, some of them were ridiculous. Like you have to destroy 7 vehicles with an airstrike at one point. Stupid, dumb, change it. They're changing it as well, so they know that crashes does affect. So hopefully they're going to adjust how it crashes, and hopefully like a report bug system, so if you do crash you can report it and still keep your contraband, hopefully, and a full season refresh, so there's everything's going to get wiped basically in your DMZ loadout, and new missions, keys, everything's going. You will get reset from the beginning, and the new location, which we know is the new Rebirth map. Now in multiplayer, again, they're touching on audio, we know this, perk balancing, again, with a bit of weapon balancing, so hopefully it will make the multiplayer play a little bit nicer, because there is a few guns that are a bit overpowered. This is the bit that I've been waiting for. They are adding hardcore. Finally, makes it easier to get your gold guns. I am so glad that hardcore is coming. They're going to be added on Valentine's Day, which just rubs it in more that I am single and playing games on my own. And then they're adding a ranked play as well, which if I remember from Vanguard, you did unlock camos and skins and stuff like that. So ranked play is going to be a big thing coming ahead. Now stay tuned. Now this is actually coming out, I believe, February the 14th or 15th, which would make sense to them doing a Valentine's mode. So hopefully we'll see more. We'll also see some more about the Resurgence map coming on February the 8th. So stay tuned for that on this channel. I've been Greeny. Please like, comment, surely hit that subscribe.